Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the latest 90-Day Fiance news update. Today we're diving deep into all the drama, heartbreak, confusion, and emotional bombshells from Season 5, Episode 2 of 90 Day, The Single Life on TLC. This episode delivered exactly what fans were promised: raw emotion, unexpected twists, and the messy reality of trying to find love after heartbreak. And trust me, things are already getting complicated. Let's start in the Dominican Republic, where Sophie, Sierra, and Pedro Jimeno's connection is already hitting some serious turbulence. Sophie is in the doctor with her friends, trying to have a good time while also figuring out what she actually wants. Pedro, on the other hand, is coming in strong. Very strong. He makes it clear that he would do anything to win Sophie over, because he genuinely likes her. In his eyes, she's not just another casual fling, she's someone special. He even describes her as a true diamond, someone he believes he could build something real with. But here's the problem. Sophie is still going through a divorce from Rob Warren emotionally. She's not in the same place as Pedro. While Pedro is talking about seriousness and exclusivity, Sophie is talking about slowing things down at the outdoor party. Things start to get interesting. Liz Woods is also there, and Pedro pulls her aside to ask a big question. Has Sophie been talking about him? Liz reveals that Sophie thinks Pedro is sweet, respectful, and romantic. That sounds promising, right? But then Liz flips the script and asks Pedro if he's actually serious about Sophie. Pedro insists that he is serious, however, he's clearly insecure. He worries that Sophie might need more time to heal and maybe even date other guys after her failed marriage. He admits that he would feel like an idiot if she wasn't ready for something real. That vulnerability shows that Pedro isn't just playing around, he's emotionally invested. Meanwhile, Liz is having her own moment. She mingles with Pedro. Friend, Villa, and Spark start flying. Villa asks for Liz's number so they can talk and meet up again. Liz seems genuinely excited about putting herself out there. After everything she's been through in her own love life, she's trying to stay open to new possibilities. But back to Sophie and Pedro. Sophie feels that Pedro is coming on way too strong. The more he pressures her, the more she instinctively pulls back. She tells the cameras that she wants him to slow down. She doesn't want to be rushed into defining something she's not emotionally ready for. Pedro, however, is confused. In his confessional, he questions why Sophie would even be in the Dominican Republic with him if she wasn't serious. From his perspective, traveling together signals commitment. To him, this isn't casual. The next day, the tension grows. Sophie meets up with Pedro for lunch, and he tells her that Liz basically warned him to be careful. That sets Sophie off. She feels betrayed. In her eyes, that's breaking girl code. She's furious that Liz would go behind her back and say anything that could make Pedro doubt her. Sophie makes it clear that she is single and allowed to do whatever she wants. She tells Pedro that if he meets the right woman, he should go for it and not wait around for her. That statement alone says a lot. It shows she doesn't want exclusivity right now, but Pedro drops a bomb. He says he believed they were in an exclusive relationship. That's where the disconnect becomes undeniable. Pedro claims Sophie told him she was healed. Sophie pushes back immediately, arguing that she never said she was ready for a relationship. They're clearly operating under two completely different understandings of what their connection is. Sophie insists she isn't giving mixed signals. Pedro, on the other hand, feels like he's being led on. In a frustrated moment, he jokes that he's not a healer or a doctor. He doesn't want to play games. He wants clarity, commitment, and honesty. This storyline perfectly captures the messy reality of modern dating, especially after divorce. One person wants certainty, the other wants space, and when those timelines don't match, confusion and hurt feelings are almost inevitable. Now let's shift gears to one of the most emotional storylines of the episode. Kim Menzies and her son Jamal. Kim recently revealed something deeply personal to Jamal. When she was 21 years old, she gave birth to a son named Larry and put him up for adoption. Jamal had no idea. For years, he believed he was an only child. The news devastates him. Not only did Kim give up a child for adoption, but she also kept this secret from Jamal for decades. He feels shocked, confused, and hurt. It's not just about the adoption, it's about trust. Kim explains that at the time her relationship with Jamal's father wasn't good. She had to make what she felt was the best decision for herself and her future. She says she doesn't regret her choice, but it still makes her sad. She breaks down in tears, calling it one of the hardest things any birth mother has to go through. When Jamal was 12 years old, he overheard Kim talking to her mother about another child, a daughter. That's how he discovered he had a sister. So this isn't the first time he's been blindsided by hidden family truths. Jamal admits that finding out about one sibling was hard enough. But learning there was another child and that he was kept in the dark is overwhelming. He questions how the situation was handled. Kim openly admits she didn't handle it well at all. To make matters even more complicated, Larry doesn't know about his sister. So now Kim is in a position where she's trying to build a relationship with the son she gave up for adoption, while also repairing the damage with the son she raised. Jamal expresses that he feels protective of Larry. He doesn't want his mom to lie to him the way she lied to him. That statement speaks volumes. The core issue here isn't the past. It's honesty, Kim says. Keeping secrets has been killing her. She feels it's time to tell the full truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. She acknowledges that her self-esteem and self-worth have been affected by all of this, but she wants to rebuild trust with Jamal and build something meaningful. With Larry, her vulnerability is real. You can see the guilt, the regret, and the desire to fix what's broken. But rebuilding trust takes time. Jamal makes it clear that he doesn't trust her right now. He hopes they can get back to how things used to be, but it will require a lot of rebuilding. This storyline adds emotional depth to the season. It's not just about dating and drama, it's about family secrets and long-term consequences. And that's what makes 90 Day the Single Life Season 5 so compelling. It's not just messy romances, it's real-life baggage colliding with new beginnings. As the season continues, we're likely to see Sophie and Pedro either find clarity or completely implode under miscommunication. Will Pedro back off and give her space? Or will his need for reassurance push her further away? And with Kim, the big question is whether honesty will heal old wounds or open even deeper ones. Can Jamal forgive? Will Larry be understanding? And how will all of this affect Kim's search for love? Because at the end of the day, Kim still wants to find someone who accepts her fully, including the complicated history she carries. This episode proved that moving on after heartbreak is never simple. Whether it's divorce, adoption, or broken trust, everyone on this cast is carrying something heavy. And when you mix unresolved emotions with new romance, sparks are bound to fly. That's it for today's deep dive into 90 Day, The Single Life, Season 5, Episode 2. Make sure you stay tuned because if this episode is any indication, this season is only going to get more intense. And that right there is where everything becomes even more complicated. Because while Kim Menzies is trying to open her heart to new love, her past is still demanding answers in the present. The emotional weight she's carrying isn't something you can just set aside when you go on a date. It follows you. It shapes you. And in Kim's case, it's now affecting the two most important relationships in her life, with Jamal and Larry. After that emotional confession, Kim sits alone and really processes what rebuilding trust actually means. It's not just about saying sorry. It's not just about explaining why she made the choices she did at 21 years old. It's about consistency. It's about transparency. It's about proving to Jamal that history won't repeat itself. Jamal, meanwhile, is struggling internally. He loves his mom. That hasn't changed. But love and trust are two different things. Finding out that you have siblings you didn't know about, not once, but twice, shakes your foundation. It makes you question what else you don't know. It makes you wonder whether your reality growing up was the full truth. And what makes this even heavier is the fact that Larry still doesn't know about his sister. That means another difficult conversation is coming. Another moment of truth. Another risk of emotional fallout. Kim understands that she can't build a genuine relationship with Larry while hiding parts of the story. If she wants a fresh start, with him, it has to be built on honesty from day one. But honesty comes with consequences. She knows that once everything is out in the open, she can't control how either of her sons will react. This is the real theme of 90 Day, The Single Life. It's not just about dating. It's about unresolved pasts colliding with hopeful futures. Now, shifting back to the romantic side of things, Kim's emotional vulnerability also plays a role in how she approaches love. When someone carries guilt and regret, they sometimes seek validation in relationships. They want someone to reassure them that they're still worthy, that they're still lovable despite mistakes. Kim openly admits that everything that's happened has impacted her self-worth. And when self-worth takes a hit, dating becomes even more complicated. You either become guarded or you become overly invested too quickly. There's rarely a balanced middle ground. While Kim is facing family fractures, over in the Dominican Republic, Sophie Sierra and Pedro Jimeno are still stuck in their own emotional standoff. Pedro spends time reflecting. On their argument, he feels embarrassed. He told the cameras he'd feel like an idiot if Sophie wasn't ready, and now he's worried that might be exactly what's happening. From his perspective, he laid his feelings on the table. He was honest about wanting exclusivity, and, instead of clarity, he got resistance. Sophie, on the other hand, feels misunderstood. She never promised commitment. She never said she was ready for a serious relationship. Yes, she traveled. Yes, she enjoyed his company. but in her mind, that doesn't equal a label. This disconnect is what makes their situation so tense. Pedro believes actions mean intention. Sophie believes actions can simply mean exploration. And when two people are defining the same experience differently, heartbreak becomes almost inevitable. Pedro starts questioning whether he rushed things. Maybe he pushed too hard. Maybe asking about seriousness so early created pressure that Sophie wasn't ready to handle. But at the same time, he doesn't want to lower his standards just to keep someone around. He doesn't want confusion. He doesn't want mixed signals. He wants someone who is sure about him. Sophie, meanwhile, feels cornered by expectations. She just left a marriage with Rob Warren. The last thing she wants is to jump from one intense commitment into another one. Without breathing room, for her, dating should feel light right now. Fun, free, not heavy. The irony. They both genuinely like each other, but timing can ruin even the strongest chemistry. And then there's Liz Woods quietly navigating her own storyline in the background. While Sophie and Pedro argue about exclusivity, Liz is exploring a new spark with Villa. She seems lighter, more open, less pressured. It's almost a contrast to Sophie's situation, a reminder that sometimes when expectations are lower, connections flow easier. As episode 2 unfolds, one thing becomes crystal clear. Every cast member this season is carrying emotional baggage: divorce, adoption, betrayal, insecurity, unresolved family trauma. And they're all trying to build new love stories on foundations that aren't fully healed yet. That's what makes season 5 so layered. This isn't just about flirty dates and romantic getaways. It's about accountability. It's about clarity. It's about whether people are truly ready for what they claim they want. Can Sophie and Pedro find common ground before resentment sets in? Can Kim rebuild trust with Jamal before permanent distance forms? And can any of them successfully separate their past pain from their future possibilities? Because at the end of the day, finding love after heartbreak isn't just about meeting someone new. It's about confronting who you've been, what you've done, and whether you're emotionally prepared to start again. And judging by everything we've seen so far, this season is only getting started. Because the emotional pressure is building and the cracks are starting to show. Let's go back to Sophie, Sierra, and Pedro Jimeno, because after that tense back and forth about exclusivity, the atmosphere between them shifts completely. What once felt flirty and exciting now feels fragile. Every word carries weight. Every reaction feels amplified. Pedro begins pulling back slightly, not because he doesn't care, but because he's protecting himself. When a man admits he wants something serious and then hears "I'm single, I can do whatever I want," that hits his pride. It makes him question whether he misread everything. He confides that he doesn't want to chase someone who isn't equally invested. In his mind, effort should be matched. Energy should be reciprocated. If he's all in, he expects the same. Sophie, however, is emotionally exhausted. Going through a divorce from Rob Warren already drained her. She doesn't want another relationship that feels heavy, intense, or demanding. She wants control this time. She wants to move at her pace, not someone else's. And here's where it becomes deeper than just a dating disagreement. Sophie is afraid of losing herself again in her previous marriage. Things escalated quickly, emotions ran high, and before she knew it, she was legally tied to someone she eventually realized wasn't right for her. That kind of experience changes how you approach love. It makes you hyper-aware of red flags. It makes you cautious when someone comes on strong. Pedro coming in with certainty should feel reassuring. Instead, to Sophie, it feels like pressure. Meanwhile, Pedro is battling his own insecurities. He doesn't want to look desperate. He doesn't want to be the guy who falls harder than the woman does. That imbalance can be humiliating. So instead of pushing further, he starts analyzing her behavior. Was she flirting too much with other people? Did she give him false hope? Was traveling together too intimate for someone not ready? These thoughts spiral in his head. At the same time, other cast members are navigating their own emotional storms. Kim Menzies continues. Struggling with the fallout from her confession to Jamal, the silence between them feels louder than any argument. Jamal isn't yelling, he isn't storming out. But his distance is noticeable, and sometimes quiet disappointment hurts more than anger. Kim reflects on how secrets grow heavier with time. What felt like protection years ago now feels like betrayal. She wonders if she underestimated Jamal's strength, if maybe he could have handled the truth earlier. But regret doesn't change reality. Now she's left doing damage control while also trying to build a connection with Larry. She knows that once Larry learns about his sister, another wave of emotions could hit. Confusion, hurt, even resentment. The truth has a ripple effect. And while Kim is trying to repair family bonds, she's also still part of a show centered on finding love. That dual pressure is intense. It's hard to open your heart romantically when your family life feels unstable. Back in the Dominican Republic, Sophie and Pedro finally have another conversation, calmer this time, but still layered with tension. Pedro asks directly, "What? Are we?" It's the question people fear because it forces clarity. Sophie hesitates, and that hesitation speaks volumes. She explains that she likes him, she enjoys being around him, she feels chemistry, but she's not ready to promise anything. Exclusive? Not yet. Pedro nods, but you can see the disappointment in his face. For him, love isn't casual, it's intentional. If he's investing time and emotion, he wants direction. Sophie suggests continuing to see each other without labels. Pedro struggles with that idea, because to him, no label means uncertainty, and uncertainty feels risky. This isn't just about two people wanting different things, it's about timing. It's about healing. It's about whether affection is enough when readiness isn't aligned. Meanwhile, Liz Woods continues exploring her own potential connection. After giving Villa her number, she feels something she hasn't felt in a while. Excitement without expectation, no heavy talks, no emotional ultimatums. Just curiosity. It's interesting to see how different approaches to dating are playing out within the same episode. Some are chasing certainty, others are embracing ambiguity, and that's the heart of 90 Day, the Single Life Season 5. Every cast member says they want love, but wanting love and being ready for love are two completely different realities. Pedro wants commitment, Sophie wants space, Kim wants forgiveness, Jamal wants honesty. None of those desires are wrong, but when they collide, tension is unavoidable. As Episode 2 moves toward its closing moments, one thing becomes clear. Clarity is coming, whether they're ready for it or not. Because eventually, Sophie will have to decide if Pedro is someone she sees long-term. And Pedro will have to decide if waiting is worth the emotional risk. Kim will have to face another truth-telling moment with Larry, and Jamal will have to decide if rebuilding trust is possible. This season isn't about fairy tale romance. It's about emotional accountability, and as we move forward, the question isn't just who will find love, it's who will confront themselves honestly enough to deserve it. Stay tuned, because if these first episodes are any indication, the emotional intensity is only going to rise from here.